is actually my first YouTube channel and my first YouTube video ever. Be the best you can be. That's all I promise. Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. My name is Anne-Marie Carr, and if you're new here, that's amazing because so am I. This is actually my first YouTube channel and my first YouTube video ever. So to help me grow this channel, I would really appreciate it if y'all hit the subscribe button, that like button, and maybe turn on that notification bell as well if you would like to get notified whenever I upload videos and help grow this channel with me. Okay, now that that's over with, I'm sure by the title of the video you already kind of have an assumption of what this is going to be over. But if you haven't gotten a little hint from that, I'll go ahead and tell you. So today's video is going to be about pre-PA or pre-physician assistant or pre-physician associate. Now I know that name can be a little bit scary for some, or people are like, I don't know what physician associate is, and that's okay because it's brand new as of this year of 2021. Now with the name change, a lot of people are freaking out, a lot of people are curious if the profession is going to be the same or if applications are going to be the same, and everyone's just kind of curious on why this name change is going about, why this is happening now, all that fun stuff. So to kind of let y'all know, the AAPA organization has actually been working on a new name for physician assistants for a very long time, and it's been in the works for I don't even know how long, but it's been going on for a long time, and they finally settled on the name Physician Associate, and they announced it about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago by now. But to get a little bit more information on that, just because I am not going to be the first person to go to on, oh my gosh, what are all these questions? So right here is a little link to the AAPA website. And it should help with all of your questions that you have. It answers quite a bit of questions. If there's a question on there that you do not see and you're curious, you can comment below and I can try and help and answer that to the best of my ability as well. But mainly this video today is just going to be talking about pre-PA. So nothing about the name change, just mainly what do I need to do to become a physician assistant, physician associate. So here is a little list, and it's first going to start off with a bachelor's degree. So to get into a physician assistant program, you need to have a bachelor's degree from an accredited program. Secondly, you need to have completed prereqs. So each school is going to have different prerequisites that they require. So you're going to have to want to look at, you're going to want to look at each school that you're wanting to attend and see what their prerequisites are. A lot of people, if they don't get accepted, a lot of the times this is what they're missing. They're not looking at what that school requires. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm going to go apply to Texas Tech and I have everything I need, but you didn't look and see, oh, wait, they maybe need a psychology class or they need a sociology class. Those are things you want to look at to make sure that you're not wasting money on applications for applications that aren't going to be considered or even looked at because the prereqs aren't completed. Thirdly, another thing you want to look at is HCE and PCE. HCE is healthcare experience and PCE is patient care experience. A little bit later on in the video, I'll get more into this and the difference between HCE and PCE. Okay, fourth is volunteer hours. I'll also get into this a little bit later on. Again, it depends on the school, if they're required, if they're not required, etc. Fifth is shadowing hours. Also going to go more into that a little bit later. Another thing for your application is letters of recommendation. I believe majority of schools require these. And then lastly, another thing that you want to look if your school requires it or not is your GRE scores. Okay, so the first part that I'll get into on this is your prerequisites. So a prereq is the courses that you have to have completed before you're able to go into a course, a program, anything along those lines. So the standard prerequisites for being a physician assistant is chemistry, physiology and anatomy, microbiology, and then general biology as well. So you'll need to look at each school, like I said, and it'll kind of give you a little bit of help on that. But I actually have this. Went really weird for a second. See if I can get it to focus. So this is a little sheet thing. There's two sheets on here. And I'm also going to attach a picture. I'll put it right here. Boom. So a little picture right there of what this is. And I attend Texas A&M University, and they put this together from their Career Center of Physician Assistants. So on there, as you can see, it has a little bit of information. What is a PA? What do you need to become a PA? And then on here, it doesn't show every state's PA program, but it is showing the Texas PA programs. There it'll show you, hey, so Baylor requires these prerequisites. Hardin-Simmons requires these prerequisites. And on there it also shows start dates for each program, the prerequisite deadlines. That is another thing that you want to look at. Some schools require that you have prerequisites done by a certain time. Not just before you start, not before your application, not at the time of application. Some of them, as you can see on this first page here, says September 1st. So that is one thing that you definitely want to look at if you're looking to apply to a school. You want to make sure that your prereqs are going to be done in that timeline, because just like with completed prereqs, or if you need letters of rec or anything along those lines for certain schools, the deadlines for each prerequisite is a very big deal, and they won't look or consider your application if your prerequisites were completed after their deadline. Another thing that you want to look at for your prerequisites is seeing if the school that you're wanting to apply to, or the schools you are applying to, are going to accept your prereqs or not. Just because you have prerequisites completed does not mean that that school is going to accept them. And I'm not saying if you got lower than a C, if you got you got like a B, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. If you passed that class with straight A's, you didn't have any issues, it was 4.0, you got in that. If that doesn't meet their requirements for that class, that's not going to count, and you won't get into that school. So that's another thing you want to look at is, are my prerequisites going to count towards this school? If not, do I need to retake this class, or should I just look at a different school that'll actually take my prereqs? Now that the prereq portion is over, secondly is the GRE. The GRE for PA school requires that you take verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, and analytical writing. Those 3 topics are what they're going to test over, and most schools, if you look at their website, they will actually have statistics of those 3 topics and the breakdowns and the scores that of their average that they accepted for their previous class years. So you can also look at that and try and see, okay, am I going to be competitive at this school? Does my GRE stand within those average lines, within those competitive lines that that school is stating on their website? Or am I a little low, and do I need to possibly retake that? So that's another thing that you really want to look at is GRE. Do you need it? 1. And if you do, look at the school's website. See what are their past statistics and what do I need to be at to be competitive to get into this specific school. Now, one that I promise you I have not passed over is your bachelor's degree. The reason that I haven't really done too much on that one is it's pretty easy. All you need to do is get a bachelor's degree in whatever you want. Anything you want, you can get a bachelor's degree. And as long as you have all of your prereqs completed for a PA program, then you're set. So if you wanted to go and get a bachelor's degree in English, go do it. If you want to go get one in criminal justice, go do it. You also can get one in chemistry. You can get one in biology. Do whatever interests you. I've called multiple schools within Texas, which is the state that I'm in. I've called multiple schools in Texas, and I've asked, hey, if I'm going for a psychology degree versus a chemistry degree versus an English degree, are you going to look at psychology and chemistry higher than you would look at English? They've all said no. They're not going to look at that. They're going to say, hey, do you have a bachelor's degree? Yes? Great. How's you doing it? How's your GPA? Like, what did you get your prereqs done? If all that stuff checks off, you're solid. You're set. So, another thing, don't stress about your bachelor's degree. Get your degree and what you want. So, after that, another thing y'all want to look at is applications. So, applications are submitted through CASPA. 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 It's a general website. Here is the link right here. And what they do is they take 2 GPAs. They take your overall GPA, so all of the courses that you have ever taken in your life for college. They're going to take that GPA. They're going to put that into one. And then they're also going to take your science GPA, and they're going to put that into a section as well. And so majority of schools, something that you want to look at as well, is that is a 3.0 is generally their minimum acceptance for a GPA. That is also going to be the minimum acceptance for a science GPA. Some schools, I believe Baylor is like a 3.2. I would have to look. But each school has a different requirement of, hey, this is the minimum of what you can get to be in our school. So you're going to want to look at that. You're going to want to say, okay, this is my overall GPA, this is my science GPA, and line that up. And something you want to look at is, hey, if your GPA is not competitive, look at other parts of your application that you can enhance. Because a lot of schools are more of like a holistic school. You want to call them, at least Texas schools. I love Texas. But Texas schools are more of holistic schools. So they're looking at you as a whole person. They're saying, okay, like, how is their GPA? Does it meet our requirements? Yes. Okay. What about did they do HCE? Did they do PCE? Did they do volunteer hours? Did they shadow? What do their letters of recommendation look like? What does their personal essay say? That is what they're going to look at. So if your GPA is at a 3.0 for both of them, don't freak out. Do not freak out unless your school doesn't accept that, then fix it. But if your GPA is at a 3.0 and that meets the requirement, congrats. Just make sure that if one part of your application is looking a little bit weak, make another point so strong that they're going to be like, okay, this is a good person. They're not just slacking on that. They weren't slacking on grades, slacking in volunteering, slacking on other parts of the application. They were trying. They were putting themselves out there. They were hitting every goal. They were doing that. So that's one thing that you want to look at, is don't stress too much about your GPA. If you meet the requirements, that's great. Just make sure other points hit that. If you are a person who you don't have any healthcare experience, you don't have patient care experience, you have no volunteering, no shadowing, all that stuff, if your school doesn't require it, make sure still that your GPA is going to be hitting. Because if other people have an average GPA but they still have hours, more than likely they are going to pick the person who is an overall individual rather than somebody who just strictly focused on one thing. So try to be, more than a one-trick pony. Try and get lots of things under your belt. Try and be somebody who, if you were someone looking for an applicant to your school, be that person. Be that smart person. Be that person who's out there helping others, who's trying your best to get to PA school and trying to hit every mark to the best of your ability and show that. Okay, so like I said at the beginning, I was going to be talking a little bit about HCE and PCE. HCE is healthcare experience and PCE is patient care experience. So HCE, so that is going to be defined as no contact with a patient. So for instance, if you were a scribe, so I did medical scribing for a little while and I did it online. So I was getting medical experience, however, I was not directly in contact with a patient. So that means for me, I'd put that under my healthcare experience because I was getting experience in the healthcare industry. However, I was not physically with a patient. Whereas patient care experience, I also worked as a CNA, a certified nurse assistant. While doing that, some schools look at this differently. But depending on your job description, that is one thing you want to look at. So for me, I had to take vitals on patients. I had to bathe patients. I had to take them to the bathroom. I had to rotate them. I had to help with little bandaging wounds with the nurses and all that fun stuff. I had a lot of contact with patients that I had to be doing. So I put that under my patient care experience because I was directly in contact with people multiple times. So put those under your best of your ability. The CASPA website has a little section under there that shows these are required, or these are considered healthcare experience and these are considered patient care experience. Some schools may look at them differently, so when they're going through your CASPA application, they will actually rearrange those into the sections that they see best fits. So you also want to make sure if your school requires these hours, you want to make sure that you're greatly above both of their requirements for those hours to make sure if they do end up moving anything around, it's not going to make one thing lack. Where you thought, oh, I had 300 plus hours, and they're like, actually, you only had 150. These were patient care or these were health care. So that's one thing you want to look into as well. One thing that I do know is that in this great state of Texas is that their schools actually do not require PCE hours, HCE hours, volunteer hours, or shadowing hours. So that doesn't mean everybody please come to Texas. It is a great state. However, Texas schools, one thing is they actually have a little bit of a higher step for Texas residents. And depending on the school, some of them actually will only take a certain amount of external, like out-of-state applicants rather than in-state. Texas tries to stay a little bit Texas, but that doesn't mean that we're not welcoming to other people, other states, all that fun stuff. But in the state of Texas, if you were to look at more competitive hours for these HCE, PCE, volunteer, and shadowing, you want to look at about 250 plus hours. and make yourself look like you are wanting this more than anybody else out there. They are wanting people who want this career path. They don't want people who are thinking, oh, I'm just going to go and be a PA because, I mean, that could be fun. No. They want people who are saying, hey, we're putting these people in these programs. They want to do this for the rest of their life. This is something that they have been so genuine, so wanting in their life, that I know that this is going to be a person who's going to complete our program. After HCE and PCE hours, there's volunteer hours. A lot of people kind of get weird about this. One thing I'm just going to put straight out there. Your volunteer hours do not need to be medical. So you do not need to go and volunteer at a hospital. You don't need to go and volunteer at a nursing home. You don't need to go volunteer at a blood bank. You don't need to do any of that stuff. If you want to volunteer and go on a mission trip, go do that. That's volunteering. But anything that you can volunteer in, put that down. Those are hours that you are volunteering. They're not just saying, hey, are you volunteering medical? They want to see who you are as a person. Like, does this person, like, oh, are they just strictly in medical? That's great. Maybe that's what they genuinely enjoy. But, oh, okay, there's this person over here, and they volunteered at a homeless shelter. They volunteered at their church. They volunteered, with pets. They're helping the, veterans. They're doing all this other stuff. They want to see who you genuinely are as a person. So show that. And just remember, when you're volunteering, that you're helping yourself and you're also helping other people. So don't look at it as, oh, okay, like this is just for my application. I'm only doing this to get into PA school. Look at it as, okay, like this is going to help me get into PA school, but how great is this that I'm helping people? How great is this that I'm helping dogs? How great is this that I'm helping cats? Look at it in that way. Don't think, oh, I just need this. Think, I'm helping. And it's going to help with those hours. It's going to help get through that. And then it's also when you're writing your essay, like, oh, when I was volunteering in the pet shelter at Bryan Animal Humane Society, or in, I don't know, somewhere. When I was volunteering here, like, I felt so great. I met so many people. I was able to help so many animals, blah, blah, blah. Put that in there. They want to know who you are. I mean, keep it pretty professional because it is a essay, blah, 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 blah. But be known. Be your own person. Say, oh, yeah, I'm Jetson, and this is what I do. Put it out there. Okay, so earlier I kind of touched on it a little bit about GPA, so I'll just quickly do a little thing on it. GPA for most schools require that you have at least a 3.0 GPA for both overall and for science. However, that does not mean that every single PA school that you're going to look at requires a 3.0. Some require lower. That is just something that you want to look at. Different schools, different states, yada, yada, yada. But from what I know, I believe Texas, all of theirs require, except for Baylor, I think it's a little bit higher, but all of theirs require you have at least a 3.0 GPA overall and science. Just do know that for schools, usually a 3.5 and above is more competitive, but you can also look at past statistics from different schools on their website. Look at their physician assistant little section, and then look up their past statistics. They should have a little section on there. If they don't, you can always contact the school and say, hey, do y'all have this somewhere, or is there somewhere that I can view this? And that can also help out your application process as well, to see if possibly you would be competitive there or not. And even keep this in mind, even if you do not think by looking at it, oh, I'm going to be competitive, that doesn't mean don't apply. So take the shot. As long as you meet all their requirements, take the shot. Somebody else could have a competitive looking application. Maybe their essay was horrible. Maybe they had a letter of recommendations that really said, hey, yeah, this person worked for me one time and they didn't focus at all. Don't automatically just go off stats. Understand that if you meet the minimum, go for it. Do it. Take your chance to become a PA, because if you don't take that chance, you're not going to be one. So take the chance. If you don't get it the first time applying, apply next year. You don't get that, apply next year. If you don't want to do it anymore, find something else. But don't quit. Keep trying. Don't say, oh, I'm not as good as so-and-so. Oh, I'm not as good as so-and-so. You're your own person. See if they're going to want you at their school or not. As long as you meet those requirements, try. Okay, another thing I went over a little bit earlier was shadowing. So for shadowing, majority of schools, I do believe they prefer that you shadow a PA, because that is going to be the profession you're going into. However, you are able to shadow other people. You can shadow doctors, you can shadow nurse practitioners, you can shadow therapists, you can shadow whatever you want. Get those shadowing hours, but just check with your school to make sure that, number one, if they do require it, do they require it strictly from physician assistants or physician associates? Or do they require it from anybody? Do they even require it at all? Look at that. And right now with COVID, everything's a little weird. So some people are also freaking out because they're like, well, this school requires it, this school requires it, this school requires it, but I don't know how to get it. You know, nobody's doing shadowing, everything, blah, blah, blah. Okay. They understand that. The schools, they're very aware that there is a global pandemic going on. Don't freak out. Look and see, have they changed their requirements for their school due to COVID? Are they now okay with accepting online science credits? Are they now okay with doing online shadowing? Are they okay with maybe no shadowing hours at all? Look at what they have changed and what they are now okay with. If you're looking at options for online shadowing, I have done quite a few. 3 good ones. One is pre-PA's Instagram, the PA platform. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of her. She is absolutely amazing. But check out the PA platform. Another one is Archana. I'm going to put her, I don't know if I'm saying her name correctly, but I'm going to put all 3 of them right here for y'all. I'm also going to put all of the links that I've done in this video in the description below, so you can click on those as well. But do know, please contact schools to make sure that they do accept online shadowing if it is required. If not, try and see what other options that they may be stating, what they say, yada yada yada. Just remember that COVID, it's affecting everybody, and if you're not able to get your shadowing hours, does your school require it? Contact the school, figure out what's up, look at other options, online shadowing, all that fun stuff. Also, try and reach out to PAs. Some PAs are really cool. Some of them you can just say, hey, you know, I know shadowing's not allowed right now. Could I do a phone call with you and kind of figure some things out? Or there's tons of different options that you can do. Look for them. Contact schools. Say, hey, you know, what have your previous applicants been doing because of COVID-19 with your requirements for volunteering, HCE, PCE, shadowing, etc. Contact them. Email them if that way you can have it in writing. Call them. Sometimes it's a little bit easier. But contact schools if you're confused to see what they strictly require. Okay, lastly, there's also letters of recommendation. Letters of recommendation, there needs to be, I believe, about 3 or 4 letters of rec. And these cannot be from your family members. If your dad is a doctor and you shadowed him, that's a family member. Obviously, he's going to hype you up. Don't have him write that letter. Don't put yourself in that position. You can get letters of recommendation, however, from people who aren't doctors, who aren't PAs. Go to your advisor. If you had an advisor through college who really helped you out and you feel that they really understand who you are and how strongly you are working towards this goal, ask them for a letter of recommendation. If you have a PA that you shadowed and you felt that you had a very good connection with them, that you did a great job, that you worked with them enough for them to get a good sense of who you are and who you would be as a PA, ask them. Ask people who you feel are best going to benefit you and your application, because letters of recommendation are a huge deal. This is somebody who is either already in that profession, who has seen you as a person, and they're saying, hey, this person's either gonna be great or they're not gonna be great. So really be careful on who you're picking, because also you cannot see these letters before they're sent. They are sent to the school, and that is that. So if you're asking somebody who you've shadowed once and they don't really know you, don't ask them. They're not going to know who you really are. They're not going to say, oh yeah, I worked with this person one time. They're going to be a great PA. You might think, oh, they really liked me. I know they did. That's one time. Really get to know somebody. Really get to ask these people, say, hey, you know, will you write this for me? I feel I have a really good connection with you, and know these people. Don't just have it be your neighbor next door. Hey, I need you to write this letter of recommendation. That is, I mean, unless your neighbor is Bill Gates or something, I don't know. Be careful with who you're picking, because these letter of recommendations are really going to come in play in your application process and who schools are going to accept or not. So be picky. Make sure you have lots of options of people to pick from. Get good connections with people. Make sure you're genuinely trying, and always putting your best foot forward, especially when these are the people who you're going to be asking for letters of rec. Be the best you can be. That's all I've got to say. All right, y'all. Well, I believe that is finally it. I think that I covered all of my bases. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, please just go ahead and comment below and go ahead and ask me anything. I'm going to try and help to the best of my ability. I posted the links below to the AAPA for help on the physician associate name change. I linked CASPA down below. I also linked the TAMU career PA sheet. That's down below as well, so you can get a look at that. Reminder, that is only Texas schools. That is only Texas schools. That is not every school. So if you're looking in Texas, that'll be helpful. If not, it's not going to help too much. And then lastly, I also put the different PA shadowings for online down below as well. So you can check those out if you haven't already. They're very helpful. If you have any questions, shoot out a question to me, or you can also message those people. They usually do respond and they're very helpful. Again, thank you guys so much for staying and watching my first YouTube video. I hope you guys found it helpful. Any questions, please ask, and don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell button down below. Anyways, thank you. Bye, guys.